Alright folks, so to give you a little bit of a frame of reference where we are here, again, we stood at the dock. That was the first military building at Alcatraz, or one of the first buildings at barracks, and that red brick defensive wall here we were walking along used to extend halfway around the island to defend this part of the island when the military fort was built. And imagine everything over our head that wasn't built yet. This would be the first building you would come to, the guardhouse. And it was also the first prison at Alcatraz. So you would go through this door here to the right. There's a little hole in the ground, and that used to have a ladder attached to the wall inside, and you climb down there. And that was where the first prison was located. So it was just a concrete floor with straw mats, a bucket to use as a restroom, and those were soldiers that were convicted usually of minor crimes, military violations, getting thrown in the guardhouse here at Alcatraz. But being an island and being surrounded by water, it made it difficult to escape. And so the Army started to send their troubled soldiers and their criminal soldiers, as well as some American Indians in this case, out here at Alcatraz to be incarcerated. And they filled up this guardhouse pretty quickly, so they built a cell block that just continued up the road. And so as we're sort of walking through this tunnel, you used to be able to continue walking all the way through the tunnel underneath this building that came to be known as Lower Prison, all the way up to the junction in the road, just about 100 yards up the way. And so this was where the first prison was in Alcatraz, and this is where our subjects would end up just a little while. A long time ago. So the Modoc War was sort of coming to a critical junction in 1873. On April 11th, 1873, Modoc warriors gathered together, and they decided that if they were going to have any chance at winning this war, at ending the battle, the fighting, and retain their traditional way of life, that they would need to take drastic action. And so it was decided that when they meet with the Peace Commission in the morning, they would not arrive unarmed as agreed. Instead, when they met General Edward Canby and 4 others, they would hide weapons nearby, and they would they would shoot and kill Peace Commissioners in cold blood. So they assigned a teenage boy, Barncho. He was assigned to take the rifles along with another teenager named Solux. And Barncho and Solux were to go and hide near the tent where the Peace Commission would be held. And they would wait all night for the morning meeting to come. And at a designated time, they sprung out from behind the rocks. They handed off the rifles to their compatriots, who then proceeded to shoot and kill the Peace Commissioners. And so the logic of this idea was that by killing the leadership, the soldiers would be disunited, they would disperse, they would flee, and it would end the fighting. And they proved to be wrong. The fighting continued. The Army replied in kind, and for 2 more months there was a battle in the stronghold there until finally the Indians were surrounded, were forced to surrender, and 6 of those warriors were brought to Fort Klamath and put on trial for the murder of General Edward Canby. And so these 6 guys stood trial. They were convicted, and they were sentenced to be executed. And so Barncho and Solux were among the condemned. 6 of them spent the next month in the stockade at Fort Klamath, and finally on October 2nd, 1873, they were told that there will be no clemency, that their sentence would not be commuted, that all the appeals had been exhausted, and that tomorrow would be the day of their execution. And Modocs must have felt that there's no doubt about that. They had seen the graves being dug just outside the stockade. 6 graves were dug. The stockade was built with 6 nooses hanging down, but it was a little bit of a psychological punishment on some of those Modocs, because only 4 would be executed. The other 2 that would not be executed would be Barncho and Solux. These guys were just teenagers, and the judge in the case decided that they were guilty basically just by being present. And so he actually wrote a letter that was passed along to President Ulysses S. Grant, and he basically wrote to that effect. Said that Barncho and Solux were just teenagers. At the trial, they appeared to be uninterested. They didn't seem to understand what was going on. They didn't understand what they were caught up in. They were just young boys that were just following orders, doing what their leaders told them to do, and were found guilty basically because of their presence at the event. And so President Grant decided to commute their sentences, but the Army officials decided not to tell them until the day of the execution. And so when they met with their families the night before, they gave their final farewells to their family and friends, and when they were called in the morning all 6 men boarded a wagon. The wagon was driven out to the gallows, and sorry folks, looks like we got a tram coming through again, so we'll just scrunch over to one side here. If anyone picked up on the sort of subtle imagery as we're talking about the 6 Modocs riding in a wagon.
There they go.
There they go. Yeah, very good. So the six men are being taken in that wagon to the gallows, and they 4 of them are instructed to get off the wagon and climb up to the gallows, and sort of soon the executioner puts the noose around their necks, but Barncho and Soluk are not told anything. They're just told to stay put. And so imagine what that might be like. Wake up on the last day of your life to be executed and be driven there to the gallows, and then not even being told actually what would happen. But yeah, it'd be sort of a tough look. You would quite a mix of emotions, I would imagine, as you would be relieved perhaps in saving your own life, of course, but you would also then be forced to watch your friends, your family, your compatriots be hung right in front of your eyes. So that was the experience for Barncho and Solux, and they had just sort of narrowly escaped their own executions, but their Barncho in particular, Barncho's imprisonment here at Alcatraz and going forward would be in some ways an even worse fate. They took Barncho and Solux and the other Modocs that had been relocated, and they put them on a train. And for just about all of them, this would have been their first time even being on a train, even seeing a train. And they took the train down here, or rather to Reading. And from Reading, the Modoc tribe was sent east to an unknown location. They were just heading off into a new world, a new place. It turned out to be Indian Territory, which is now Oklahoma. And Barncho and Solux were brought south here to San Francisco. They were put on a boat and brought across the bay out here to Alcatraz Island. And so imagine what that experience would be like, being brought from your home on a train, on a piece of machinery, something that you've never seen before, never experienced, to ride that train all the way down here, seeing the landscape, seeing people, cities, buildings you had never seen or experienced before, coming across this bay, much bigger than any body of water you would have ever seen before, and riding here at Alcatraz, not knowing what your fate was. They probably realized that they were to be imprisoned for life. They had a sense of life imprisonment now. And during the 1870s, they would arrive at the dock there, same dock, the only dock at Alcatraz. They walked up this road here, just a little bit further up past this guardhouse, into that lower prison. And so why don't we just head a little bit further up the road here, just outside. Once we get outside, we'll be right in that location to talk about the lower prison.